Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote the holistic transformation of your health and the health of our planet. My name is Dr. Benjamin Alter.
And my name is Dr. Susanna Alter.
And we are both naturopathic doctors practicing holistic lifestyle medicine, supporting you in reversing disease and reclaiming your optimal health using a whole food plant-based diet, and also mindset mastery, because we know and understand and appreciate the mind-body connection and how we can use that to support our healing journey as well. So before we dive in, we wanted to make a quick little announcement about something exciting upcoming at Alter Health.
Yes, for those who haven't heard, we are launching an 8-day whole food plant-based challenge starting January 13th. So that's this Monday. It's coming right up. So if you haven't yet joined, feel free to do so. Head over to www.alter.health/WFPB-challenge. And we'd love to have you. We'll be guiding you through how to implement a whole food plant-based diet, why it's important, why it really supports your body, your physiology, and why it also supports you in losing weight, which is the topic of today's podcast episode.
Yeah, so this, by the way, is all happening in our plant-based and stress-free Facebook group. It's a free, open Facebook group. Well, it's not open, it's private, because we want to make sure that people are coming into the group are on the same page, on the same wavelength. There's not going to be any chaos or confliction going on. And there isn't. It's a safe space, a healing space. And in that group, we are, a lot of people are coming in, and we've noticed that a lot of people do have a goal and an intention on losing weight. And we see weight loss kind of unique and differently than maybe a lot of other healthcare providers, practitioners, fitness instructors, or dietitians or anything like that. And we wanted to share our perspective and philosophy on the topic because, we actually have had great success supporting people in losing weight. But the interesting thing, just to start off the conversation, is that weight loss is really has never been the ultimate goal or the ultimate goal for any of our clients and patients. It's just a natural byproduct of achieving optimal health.
Exactly. Yeah. So these clients come in with other health complaints and we focus on those, but we transform their foundation of health with nutrition, with lifestyle practices, and that natural byproduct of living a healthy lifestyle is weight balance and weight maintenance.
Yeah, so this is a huge topic. We could talk hours on it, but we're going to do our best to jam in some of really the most important things to think about when approaching weight loss in a sustainable, really healthy sort of way, and how to, really get real lasting results when it comes to your weight and your health. So yeah, Susanna, where should we start here?
Let's start by addressing some of the common misunderstandings about how to achieve weight loss, because there's a lot of information out there.
Totally.
But is a lot of it correct?
Well, no, it's not a lot of it is correct. I think the most common, most popular mindset when approaching weight loss from both like a consumer, an individual, as well as a practitioner is calories in versus calories out. All you got to do is eat less than you're burning and you're going to lose weight. And it turns out that is, to some extent maybe true, but not really reliable. There's a lot of people who are restricting calories, eating, 1,000, 1,200 calories a day for a prolonged, extended period of time. And they are exercising a lot, maybe more than they should, certainly more than they should on that sort of restricted diet. And they're still not really experiencing any lasting results with regard to their weight or their health for that matter. So it's really just not a simple equation like that. And the reason being is that really health and weight And the loss of weight, the release of weight, is dependent on a functional metabolism. It doesn't matter what you're eating and how little you're eating. If your metabolism is not working functionally properly and you're not converting what you're eating into fuel for your body, then you're going to have like this backlog of fuel, this log jam, so to speak. And that is experienced as toxicity in the body, weight gain in the body, fluid retention in the body. There's a lot of symptoms that are associated with this kind of backlog and poorly functioning metabolism. And the way to fix a metabolism is really quite simple. It's fueling the body in the way that nature has intended with real whole foods.
Exactly. Yeah, so what we really see is that when we fuel the body with that optimal diet, that whole food plant-based diet is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That heals the body's ability to metabolize foods. It heals the liver, which we'll get into a little bit more. And the natural byproduct of that is weight balancing. So whether you have too much weight or whether you're underweight, you need to have a functioning metabolism. And so I guess today we're focusing more on weight loss. But so let's talk a little bit more about the mechanism of, how really healing your metabolism supports natural weight loss.
Well, metabolism, I had a great conversation on this podcast, by the way, a few weeks back with Ray Cronice, who is a metabolic scientist. And I also have a, bachelor's in physiology and exercise physiology, where I got to really understand what a metabolism actually is. And the metabolism is the body's ability and machinery that converts fuel into energy. That's really what a metabolism is. And it turns out that each one of our cells has tons, like each one of your trillion cells in your body has tons of these mitochondria, which is where your metabolism kind of lives if we were going to pinpoint it. And these mitochondria are converting fuel sources into energy for your cells. And the preferred fuel source of all of these mitochondria in each one of your cells is glucose, is carbohydrates, in real plant foods. And that glucose is simply broken down in the metabolic process to be converted into fuel for your cells in your body. And one of the things that interferes with that breakdown of glucose into fuel for your body, energy for your body, is the accumulation of saturated fat in the body, mainly in the liver, in the fat cells, and in the muscle cells. And that interferes with the metabolic capacity to use the carbohydrate, use the glucose, and create energy. And still, to this day, in current times, saturated fat is often seen as the ticket to weight loss. All you need to do is restrict carbohydrates, restrict this fuel from your cells, go all out and binge on saturated fat, binge on protein, and that's the ticket to weight loss. Well, it turns out that's the ticket to really short-term, really short-lived weight loss, mainly in the form of water weight, fluid retention, as we're breaking down the glycogen stores in our bodies. But when we're talking about healthy functioning metabolism, optimal metabolism, saturated fat and high fat diets in general just simply break the metabolism further. And I don't mean break the metabolism to some point where you can't fix it. It's really easy to fix a metabolism. It happens kind of overnight, so to speak. But that's kind of metabolism and healing your metabolism in a nutshell.
Yeah, and another interesting piece is that, if we consider what a standard American diet consists of, it consists of a lot of saturated fat, but also usually a lot of simple carbohydrates in the form of soda or from donuts or cookies. And so you've got this combination of lots of carbohydrates, but also lots of fat. And what happens with the metabolism is that your body is going to prefer to break down the glucose first because it's the quickest way to turn food into energy.
Yeah.
But that once your body gets enough fuel for what it needs to do for that moment, then it's going to store the rest of it in the body, right?
Mhm.
And what's left over is fat. So it's the fat that's stored on your body as fat. And there is this misunderstanding that it's all the sugar that you're eating that's causing weight gain. Well, yes, to some extent, sugar is converted into fat, but that's an extremely energetically demanding process called de novo lipogenesis in the body. And so it's really not happening all that much in your body unless you're eating extreme amounts of calories and have all that extra energy in order to convert the sugar into fat.
And it only happens when you're also eating fat. So it's questionable as to whether or not the sugar is really, there are studies that radio label these carbon atoms of the sugar and the fat and to figure out what's going on and where it gets stored in the body. But that's, not what we want to get into in this conversation. We want to get into some really practical take-home tips to really feel results in your body and see results sustainably in your life. And we at Alter Health, our mission is to keep things really super duper simple so that you can literally digest what we have to say and implement it into your life as in such a simple and reliable way. And when it comes down to diet, and we're going to get so much deeper into this in the Whole Food Plant-Based Challenge starting on Monday, but it's real plant foods. And what we're talking about is, of course, whole grains, legumes, fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, mushrooms, herbs and spices, all of these things that come from the earth in their natural forms, naturally nutrient dense, naturally calorie deplete. That means that they, per calorie have more nutrients than, say, meat, dairy, eggs, animal products, processed foods. And, the other thing is that these plant foods, with some exceptions, of course, tend to be carbohydrate-rich foods. And that is not a bad thing. That is actually a good thing when we take a look back to our metabolisms and see that the metabolism is fueled by glucose, by carbohydrates. We want to get an abundance of carbohydrates, plenty of carbohydrates from real whole foods. And that's exactly what plants offer us. So a whole food plant-based diet with, focusing on the fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, blah, 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 all that stuff is naturally going to be high in carbohydrates, naturally going to be lower in fat and protein, naturally going to be really high in fiber. And we don't have to go out of our way to count calories or count macronutrients, just simply eating real natural foods in their natural source.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here, it's not some short-term crash diet, short-term cleanse, short-term this, short-term that. What we're talking about is a real sustainable solution to optimizing weight through really optimizing your health. And so, we see that in a lot of these kind of, crazed diets like keto diet and Atkins diet. People get those really fast results and then they plateau and they have to work harder and harder and harder to keep the weight off.
While their health suffers as well.
Exactly. And we also see in short-term fasts or cleanses, there is some benefit to that in a certain scenario. However, it's not a sustainable solution for long-term health. For, you can't fast the rest of your life. That's not going to be sustainable for life.
Yeah, you're going to die after some period of time.
Yes. So we're talking about a diet that has been studied to have sustainable weight loss and maintenance with no caloric restriction at all. You can eat all you want, but you got to stick to the foods that are really supporting long-term health, which are the foods that Dr. Ben just went over.
Yeah. I want to talk for a little bit about hunger and cravings, because a lot of people who are shifting, to a new way of eating have all these new, profound senses of hunger and lack and cravings. And, I want to first just put out there, the distinction between authentic hunger, like true hunger that you need fuel in your body, and inauthentic hunger, or just kind of psychological hunger, just boredom. Like I want to put something in my mouth and chew on something. A lot of people mostly misinterpret inauthentic hunger and feel like I really need something. A conversation I had with Dr. Joel Furman, the nutritarian guy who we know and love, he really puts it clear that authentic hunger is felt kind of in our throat, we kind of salivate a little bit. It's a feeling that's really completely distinguished from inauthentic hunger, which can be like lightheadedness or irritability, getting hangry. That is not a healthy sign that you're actually hungry. That means that there's something off. You shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't even feel tired, really, when you're hungry. You should just feel a little like constriction in your throat and watering in your mouth a little bit, something like that. So that's important to know. And also, another thing that's really important to talk about is when we are hungry, we're not only hungry for calories. We're also hungry for all of these vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients that are essential in creating energy and health from the calories. So that's exactly what a whole food plant-based diet also provides, is the nutrient density to optimally power and fuel your body in addition to the calories. Whereas, a high fat, high protein, meat based, omnivorous diet of whatever sort can be lower in nutrients and therefore can leave us feeling like, hey, I'm missing something, I'm lacking something, because you are. Maybe you've heard of this term overfed and undernourished. That's really what we're talking about, is a lot of people are overfed. They've got plenty of calories, but they don't have enough nutrition.
Exactly. And I also just want to tie into that one additional piece about the liver and making sure we're fueling the liver with all the nutrients it needs, because a lot of people, if they're coming from a diet that is higher in meat, dairy, and eggs, higher in saturated fat, that also probably means that the liver hasn't been getting the amount of glucose that it needs to really thrive, because the liver is really our storage organ for glucose. It forms it, or it stores it in the form of glycogen. And so in between meals, if we don't have a good store of glycogen in our liver, then the body's going to go in more of a kind of freak out mode, like, I need food right now, and start creating all these symptoms of cravings or fatigue or whatever it is that comes up for people when, they're feeling this kind of anxious hunger. And so it's really, really important when we switch over to this whole food plant-based diet that we do focus on those clean carbohydrate foods, because those fuel the liver and help us to really maintain our hunger levels throughout the day.
Yeah, we really can't talk about weight release, health, or anything for that matter without bringing the liver into the conversation. The liver is doing so many tasks, hundreds and hundreds of tasks around the clock. And one of the things that literally is keeping us alive moment to moment is the breakdown of glycogen to maintain that blood sugar necessary for life. Anyone who tells you to eat less carbs doesn't know what the heck they're talking about, doesn't know that it's actually carbs or glucose that is literally keeping you alive in any moment. It doesn't matter if you're eating just meat, dairy, and eggs on some sort of crazy carnivore diet. Sugar, glucose, is still keeping you alive in every single moment of your life. And that is not something that we can argue about. That's just hard, pure, basic science. So we want to make sure that the liver is nourished and able to maintain that healthy blood sugar at all times of the day. on that note, and there's so much to cover, like we kind of started this conversation with. But another thing that's coming to mind on when we're talking about a whole food plant-based diet, we brought up the fact that, like, yes, this diet is naturally higher in carbohydrates, naturally lower in fat and protein, especially when we avoid oil, which is really important when our goal is weight loss. We need to emphasize that oil is not a whole food. Maybe it comes from a plant, yes, but oil is not a whole food. It's pure fat, which can, really interfere with our body's ability to properly metabolize that sugar, that carbohydrate, that glucose into fuel. But also your whole food plant-based diet, when you are getting your foods in their whole natural form, you're getting lots and lots of fiber. And this fiber is critical for the health of your microbiome. We know that. Everyone loves talking about the microbiome. It's also, fiber is critical for detoxifying and cleansing and grabbing onto cholesterol and toxins and excess fats and shuttling those things out of the body in and flushing them down the toilet, essentially. And fiber also fills you up, and you get full when you eat a meal that's high in fiber. Last night, we had like a handful of Brussels sprouts in a soup that Susanna made, and the Brussels sprouts. I don't know if it's just me and Susanna, but
They're filling.
they are really filling. And like, if you think about one little Brussels sprout, it's only what, 10 calories, if that. But it's so fiberful, and it's filling you up literally mechanically. And one of the more important things that people don't necessarily talk about all that much in triggering this satiety feeling, this feeling of being satiated and full, is literally filling the stomach and stretching the stomach. And the stomach has all these stretch receptors that signal to the brain, hey, I'm full, I've had enough. So when we do eat a plant-based whole food diet that's high in fiber, we're giving that filling of the stomach, we're giving that signal to the brain. And that's a good thing for your satiety, for your satiation, for feeling good, and also for all the other benefits and effects that higher fiber diets have when it comes to your gut health and microbiome and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And we have a comment about gas. And yeah,
Oh,
that comes up a lot when we talk about fiber.
yeah.
And so what we always say is that if you are experiencing gas after eating an increase of fiber, that's a good sign that your microbiome has room to improve and to become more diverse.
I love how you reframed that. It is a good sign. A lot of people like do everything they can to avoid gas, but gas is actually natural. Even for healthy people have a little bit of gas. It shouldn't stink. It shouldn't be uncomfortable, but a little gas is natural, and it means that your microbiome is shifting. Yeah.
Exactly. And if it is too much, if it's
It,
causing you pain, then that
yeah.
means you should probably increase your fiber in smaller increments. And so, what we say to people who, for example, get a lot of gas when they reintroduce beans is start with a spoonful of beans and then the next day bring
Yeah.
in 2 spoonfuls.
And there's a lot more that can be said about gut health and gas and other reasons that, might be for the gas, in terms of intestinal infections and dysbiosis and that sort of stuff, which is kind of a conversation for another day. But yeah, gas is not in and of itself a bad thing. Um, yeah, lastly, I wanted to end. I think now is maybe a good time to kind of wrap things up with some additional tips and tricks to really kind of take it to the next level. It's like, all right, you've got this whole food plant-based diet dialed in, oil free, salt free, eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. The other kind of, you could call them more advanced tips. This is foundationals. This is like the step one, square
Required.
one, required stuff. But the next thing that we can do is start thinking about restricting not calories, but the time frame when we're eating, giving ourselves a little bit longer of a fasted state, maybe 14, 15, 16 hours. Nothing too extreme longer than that, at least in any sort of long-term sustained way. It's okay to go a whole day without eating. That's not going to kill you. That might make you stronger, in fact. But to go multiple whole days without eating, too often can be a stress on the system. So that being said, 14, 15, 16 hours regularly can be a healthy way to start burning more fat. And specifically adding to that, a gentle aerobic activity in the morning before you do break your fast. So say you eat dinner at 6 p.m., you wake up at 6 a.m., and you go for a walk from 7 to 8, and then you have your more morning activity, a cup of tea, water, you do your thing, and then you break your fast at 10. So that's about 16 hours.
That's a long fast.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that long either.
It can be, you can break your fast at 9, or, it can be 15. 14, 16 hours, I think is kind of, 14 to 16 hours, I think is kind of a good window to shoot in.
Yes.
For that benefit of fat burning. And then adding the aerobic activity in the morning on a fasted state, you're going to be burning fat. And aerobic activity really means, gentle. It means getting your heart rate to 100 to 120, 130 beats per minute. Nothing extreme, nothing vigorous. Otherwise, you actually start to burn carbohydrates. And that's not a bad thing, but if your goal is fat burning, fat loss, then cardiovascular activity is where it's all about. Yeah.
And then additionally, we can't talk about weight loss without also talking about the other foundational pieces of a lifestyle. And so sleep is very, very important to make sure you're getting a good essential sleep at night. Sleep is really needed to keep our hormones in check, including growth hormone, which is one of those hormones that's really, really important when wanting to lose weight.
And also cortisol and kind of your circadian rhythm, super important topic.
Right, which leads us into another really crucial foundation of health, which is stress management, making sure that your body isn't in a chronic state of stress or, that sympathetic nervous system activity that we talk about in a lot of our other episodes.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time to really dive into that in this episode, but just know that it is a really important factor, and that if your cortisol levels are too high, that can really redistribute where fat is stored on your body and keep it on your body when you don't want it to be there.
Absolutely. I can't believe that I was going to forget to talk about that.
Yes.
I mean, it's healing in general, like we often say, is impossible to really, your body only heals properly, adequately when we're in a restful, peaceful state. So, a lot of people run around, try to figure out what they can do, what they can eat, how they can exercise, buzzing around, doing this, and it's counterproductive. The first step is not the whole food plant-based diet. Absolutely not. The first step is peace. From peace, we can move into the whole food plant-based diet, and then maybe take the more, quote unquote, advanced steps with regard to movement, exercise, these other sorts of lifestyle optimization. But yeah, that's probably a good place to end.
I think so. I think we covered a good amount in these 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And just to remind you all, we do have another podcast episode on weight loss. It's from about a year ago, and that's why we thought we wanted to hop on again. Give you a little bit of updated information, but if you want even more information, if you want to hear our insights from a year ago, you can go look up that episode. It's definitely one of the early ones.
Yeah, and I'll definitely also link the episode with Ray Croneiss, the brilliant scientist who talks to me about metabolism, and some other. I'll link some other episodes in there, as I usually do. But you guys can find out more, as always, at www.altered.health/podcast. This is episode number 163. Holy cow, can't believe we've made it thus far. And we are excited to keep the ball rolling. And just one last reminder to come on into the plant-based and stress-free Facebook group if you're not already there. That's where we record these live episodes every Thursday at 1 p.m. And we do record these episodes based on what people are interested and curious about hearing and learning more about when it comes to their lives, their health, their healing. So hope to see you in the plant-based and stress-free Facebook group if you're not already there. And that's all I've got. Anything for you, Susanna? Last words?
Nope.
All right. On that note, then, peace and love, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thanks for joining us, everyone.